Hello and welcome again to Redacted Nuisance, that 10 to 15 minutes of, well, random bumblings on Tinternet that is recorded in one take, not listened back to and then uploaded. Um, yeah, the lowest 5 production values that you will ever see, although I do have a very good noise cancelling mic, which might be good today because I believe just as I started to record, they decided to drill upstairs. Who knows how much background noise you get? You might not. Fortunately, I've got big earmuffs on, so I can only really hear myself, and I can't hear anything else. What else do I need to tell you? Why? Who am I? Hey, I'm Dr. J, use they as a pronoun. Describe myself as a hashtag queer nuisance and a troublemaker. Why, if I am a queer nuisance, why is this called redacted nuisance? It's called redacted nuisance because if I called it queer nuisance, you wouldn't be able to hear it because all of the censorship on Tinternet of the LGBTQ, the queers would kick in and it would not be available to you. Um, What else do I need to tell you? Not much. What am I going to talk about right now? I kind of thought to do well, this has been a year because wow, this has been a year. So let's see. I have had a severe mental health breakdown. My complex PTSD kicked off so badly that I was having multiple panic attacks per hour and attempting to work a full-time job and a responsible full-time job and a full-time job that takes a lot of mental energy and I attempted to do that while having multiple panic attacks per hour. And you say, dear God, are you insane? And the answer is, at the time you have no concept of how sick you are and you do not have the mental health to make enough good decisions for your mental health. So fortunately for me, people recognised just how sick I was and kind of stepped in. And I discovered several things during that time. One of which is my pain scales, my scales for my scales for reporting on things are very much like chronic pain scales. So my scales for reporting on my mental health have evolved over time, like you do. And there's a pain scale that goes from 0 to 10, with 0 being no pain, 10 being the worst pain I've experienced. Now, when you're spending a lot of time in a lot of mental health distress or pain, you change that scale somewhat. Because you've been in situations where you think, well, that was a 10. And then 2 days later, you're like, wow, that 10, that wasn't really a 10. That was a 7, and I am now sitting at 10. And that scale warps to a point where when somebody says, so, you're experiencing suicidal ideations. Where would you put that on the scale? And I'm like, of suicidality. And I'm like, oh, for me, that's around about a 2. And they're like, oh, really? Really? If you stopped and thought about this, those flashes of trying to kill yourself that happened, several times an hour when you're out walking, that might most people report that as kind of like a 5 or a 6 or even slightly higher, maybe even a 7 or an 8. And I'm like, oh, maybe I do need to sit down and talk about this shit. So yes, so thanks to the lovely people at the listening place, I sat down and talked about all of the suicidal ideations and suicide attempts across my life, which was actually really good to do, to just have a space. Heartily recommend them if you're in the UK. I don't know if they're available outside of London. They are London based. They're in person. And they provide a safe space for you to sit and talk through the things that go on inside your head. I found them very inclusive. As a trans and non-binary person, I found them very inclusive of my trans, non-binary and LGBTQI others identity. They were very non-judgmental and provided an excellent space to talk about and explore the craziness and the whyness of it. I then was still signed off work because I was not in a safe space to put anywhere near anything that looked like work because I was having multiple panic attacks per hour. I then spent some time in the mental health services of the NHS. My experience there was less than stellar. I love the NHS. Big up the NHS. It is one of the best institutions in the UK. the mental health services are patchy at best, designed for short-term problems. So if you have something complex like complex PTSD, you will find yourself getting a little bit of help, some short-term help, and then being discharged because you're too complicated for their systems. They want people that they can resolve in with 10 to 12 weeks of therapy. They don't want people in there and on their books who are going to take multiple years to stabilize, who are going to take time to sort out. So there was that. In the meantime, because, I don't believe in doing anything simply, I decided to take up the pathways because I got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Turns out I went off and had some scans and a few tests because I couldn't get it under control. Turns out that if you have if you're born with a slightly disordered metabolism, which I probably was, and you suffer a life of chronic stress because of the PTSD, which I definitely have, and you have some other underlying conditions like polycystic ovaries and a few things, you will end up with type 2 diabetes. There is nothing you could have done, there is nothing you can do. It is not the main thing that is going on. It is a symptom of the underlying thing that is going on, and the underlying thing is you have a metabolism that's a little bit screwed up. And I've talked about this a little bit. So, but one of the things that I could do is, because I have type 2, I could undertake this Pathways to Remission plan, which I did. I did for 14 weeks. I had an incredibly harsh dietary regime, total meal replacement of soups and shakes of 800 calories a day. On that regime, I lost 20 kilos in those 12 weeks, or around about 20 kilos. I lost it very fast. I lost a lot of muscle as well. I lost a lot of subcutaneous fat, started to lose a little bit of visceral fat, which I could tell by my body shape. The subcutaneous fat was obvious. You could literally see it almost melting from me. There are pictures of me in June, July, around my birthday, where you can see in my face that I've lost weight. I look drawn. I look slightly haggard because my body has not quite caught up with the fact that I've lost so much weight so quickly. It's now settled down. I've still lost the weight. Don't worry, I've not been putting weight on, other than putting some muscles on. I've not put any weight on, but my face has softened. I no longer have that quite so haggard look that you get when you first lose an immense amount of weight like that. Because that was quite shocking when I look back on some of those photos. So that's some of the stuff that I've done this year. Oh, and also on top of that, because I went through those 12 weeks of basically not being able to exercise very much at all. I could swim for maybe half an hour at a slow pace. I could do some strength training, but it had to be really, really gentle strength training, just enough to keep me moving and to keep my muscles on. Since I've been eating again, I've gone back to eating quite a decent amount of protein. Actually, I've gone back to basically eating protein with vegetables and maybe some carbs on the side. I've been able to put on muscle mass, which is amazing when you're postmenopausal. Thank you to HRT, the Holy Trinity, estrogen, progesterone and testosterone, are allowing me to put on some muscles and build some lean muscle on my body, which is amazing because that is definitely going to help me have an old age, because I'm in my mid 50s. This will help me have an old age that is full of movement and all of those things, and I will be protected because my muscles and my bones and my heart are all strong despite having a disordered metabolism. What else have I done? I've returned to work, which has been an interesting journey. What we're trying to do, the panic attacks have dropped. I'm now more than 10 days from a panic attack, which is amazing. And for those who suffer from panic attacks, yeah, 10 days is not much. It's quite a short time still, but it's far enough that I can feel the relaxation in my body. So things that make me just a little bit anxious aren't dipping into panic. I can be a little bit anxious and not immediately go from whatever state into complete bodily panic. I can be in that, oh, this is causing me a small amount of anxiety and I can manage this. I am on a busy tube. This is causing me a small amount of anxiety. I can handle this. Whereas previously it would be I'm on a busy tube and I'm doing everything to stop myself running into panic. So there's been some real changes there as I get further and further from the last panic attack. I feel a little bit like one of those towns where you drive in and it's like, welcome to Jay, days since a panic attack. And sometimes it's not been set exactly at zero. Um, oh, it's been set at zero. It's been set at minus something because I've been having multiple panic attacks an hour. What else have I achieved this year? So, mental health breakdown, recovery therefrom, back into a lot of therapy, which has been really great. I have found a therapist that I'm hoping I will have a long-term thing with. Um, so I'm going to stop there and I'm going to talk about and in the next one, which I will release in the new year, I'm going to talk about what I think I might want to do next year. Some of the things that I've got planned, some of the things that I don't got planned. Um, what I love the way that I say some of the things that I don't got planned. Some of the desires that I wish to do that I haven't quite figured out how to do. Um, so yeah, this has been Redacted Nuisance. The 2025 was a year.